Slayers. Lord Zed is threatening Angel Grove.
I need I need multiple teenagers with attitude, with paranormal background. Bow, 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 bow.
Oh yeah, that was something we didn't mention on last week's episode, but Buffy actually has a pretty sick theme.
Does. Like it's still in my head, even though that's not the theme for Angel.
Yeah, the theme
Right.
song for Angel isn't as good as the theme for Buffy, but
The
Angel...
scenes in the intro are better. They feel more kind of hype, but the song is hype for
Yeah.
Buffy. Yeah.
Ironic, since I would say that Angel is absolutely hands down the better of the two shows.
Ooh. Spicy.
Hot take.
This is 105.
Lazor Comb.
We are not going to panic.
What the heck even happened to you, man?
Vengeance.
Shrimp Daddy! Ha 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 ha!
Give him a hockey stick!
What am I, fucking magician, man?
Am I some kind of fucking magician, man?
Fucking nerd!
Big nerd.
Whatever. It's not like we're professionals anyway.
And I'm not sorry anymore.
Time to big brain.
Every day, yes.
What is the airwolf of trains? Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Lazor Comb podcast. The podcast where we, real Transylvanians, come to classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your counts, Von Cal.
And I am Count Draconis von Siegenheim. At your service. Ho, ho, ho.
That's not fair. You're not allowed to have a cooler name than me.
See, I see your bit, and I grab it and run away with it.
And I flip the table. That's right. We're covering. Now, you would think we would have made this gag when we did Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's a lot going on in that particular review. We were more interested in the cowboy vampire and the dinosaur demon. I can't even really recall what was it about. Smash TV
And
Fest.
the unusual parallels between it and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Right. Like a crossover would actually work.
Of which there were
be
several, from what I recall.
But here we are with Angel, the spin-off of everyone's... Like, here's the thing. Buffy fans don't like Angel.
Really?
Yeah, never met like a Buffy fan that thought like Angel was interesting. Probably because they don't like Angel
Well,
as a character.
presumably, though, now this is a Patreon, much like last week's episode, this is a Patreon pick from our Patreon subscriber, Josh. And once again, here is Josh to tell us why he picked this episode of Angel. Take it away, Josh.
Hey guys, thanks again for allowing us to share with you some of our favorite shows. This was another one that I bonded with a friend over. Me and my best friends since like 7th grade. When the series finale aired, the credits roll in. He calls me up immediately. He's like, "Did you see that?" Angel, again, like Buffy, had a lot of story arcs that built on each other, and I really wanted to find an episode that would kind of show what the show was succinctly. So I hope I picked the right one. You guys seem to like Cordy a lot, so here's another Charisma Carpenter centric episode. So enjoy.
Thanks, Josh. At patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. At the $10 tier, you get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on the podcast. Or at the $20 tier, you get to pick shows for us to review a very specific episode of your choosing, which is what Josh did last week with Buffy, and this week as well. So I would assume that Josh...
Both are cream of the crop.
That Josh is a fan of both. Maybe
It'd
he's
be
the
hilarious
exception.
if he wasn't. Yeah, maybe he's a fan of both. Do we know? I should ask him. I'm gonna go and bug him and be like, "You liked both, right?"
Presumably.
So I'm just gonna lay it out there. Year of our Lord, 2024, December. You know how much I screwed up the date earlier? Because someone's birthday is like coming up, and off screen, I was like 4 days away, 5. It's the 29th, right? What? If I don't have a physical calendar in front of me, everything falls apart.
It's
the
December
30th.
32nd.
It's December 32nd, year of our Lord, 2024. Why does that sound like I made that up? Yeah. We watched Angel for the first time. That sounds so weird. That's what we do on this show. That's right. Yeah.
This technically is not the first time I've seen Angel. This is the second time I've seen Angel. I watched a random episode of Angel back in the day, back when it was originally airing, because there is one episode that guest stars Simon Templeman, known to fans of a certain vampiric video game series, Legacy of Kain, as the voice of the titular character.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the episode you'd watch.
So I found out he was going to be in an episode of Angel, so I watched that back in the day. This would have been back in like 2003,
I heard there's a Muppet
2004.
episode where they're all Muppets
Oh.
of Angel, I think.
I know there's a musical episode of Buffy.
Angel Muppet episode. There is, yeah. I'm surprised he didn't tell us to watch that one. But yeah, there's like a Muppet episode where like they're all turned into Muppets by a curse or something like that.
Well, the episode he did tell us to watch was the 5th episode of Season 1, Room with a View, which originally aired on November 2nd, 1999. Just over 25 years ago now.
Dang. And what's the gist of... what I've got, the gist of Angel is Angel goes to LA.
Yeah.
Cuts ties with Sunnyside. Sunnydale? Sunnyville. I don't know.
Sunny Side Up.
Yeah, Sunnydale up.
Sunny Delight.
His favorite show is Forever Night.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, if that guy can do it, I can do it. And becomes a private investigator. Now, at the beginning, of no renown, it's hard to be a private investigator with no investigations under your belt.
Mm-hmm.
So Cordelia tags along, her family destitute, and becomes his like secretary.
And not a very good one, by his own admission, but it seems like he's more or less just trying to help her out.
Let's be real. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got a buddy that sort of he called Angel boss. So, but like they reveal in this episode that the Irish kind of like goon, he is half demon.
Yeah. Yeah, Doyle, I think was his name.
And those are the characters. We got Cordelia, Doyle, and Angel this episode. And there's a lot going on. There's 2 plots going on at once. One is Doyle, he's got some debts to pay. What I like to live life on the edge. What can I say?
Yeah, he definitely gives off like low-level goon in the Irish mafia. vibes.
Yeah, but he doesn't just owe the human mafia money. He owes the demon mafia money.
The
I'm not making this up.
the
Or they employ a demon to go get the money. I don't know.
listen, we're just talking about La Deminosa here.
Listen, you owe the big boss, the guy with the horns and the tail. He ain't too happy none with the money that you haven't given him. And he'd rather just see you in the place down below and have a talk there. So if you don't mind, demon mafioso still use guns. And when
tell
you
me,
know it,
tell me something. Does Lucifer Satanus look like a bitch? Does Lucifer Satanus look like a bitch?
then why you try to fuck him like a bitch, Doyle? Yes, you did. But wouldn't you know it? I like the bit where he's like, "Oh, I got your money right here, Mr. Demon." And he's like, "You wouldn't be stupid enough to reach in there for a gun, would you?" And he's like, "No, look, it's right here." And he pulls see? And he pulls the drawer out, and then he just fucking hits him with the drawer. I was like, okay, and then runs. That's pretty good.
So yeah, that's one of that's kind of the main subplot of the episode. The main like the A plot of the episode is Cordelia, Cordy, who's a character I'm actually grown quite fond of already in just these 2 episodes, and it's not just because she's hot, okay? I actually like
You know
her.
what? And my partner will defend her character progression. Like she's like, "Hey," whenever I was smack talking her with you like before, she's like, "Hey, actually, she's a good person, damn it."
Yeah, like even seeing her in the episode of Buffy to seeing her in this episode, like there's already character progression that I see. And I'm like good
And
character progression.
yeah, it looms on her that she was kind of a huge piece of shit in high school.
Yeah. And she's trying to kind of do good to atone for that, which I think probably is something that Angel can empathize with, which is probably why he's helping her out.
Yeah, because his history is kind of being like the biggest, most evilest vampire that killingest, the most killingest, evilest, hungriest of vampires. He can go in the sun because he has a soul, right? Is that
sure? I don't know.
There's one part where he's like, "Hey, I'm closing the blind so the boss doesn't like ignite in flames," and I'm like, "How'd you get here? It was sunny outside when you guys came over, and now you're closing the curtains." I think he's just sensitive to light. I think technically he's a daywalker because there's lots of day scenes during this.
No, fair enough. I didn't even think of it, honestly. I just assumed that, maybe vampires in this world don't burn up in sunlight. Maybe his dark gift is immunity to sunlight.
Ooh, what? That's quite a dark gift. No, he cannot go in the sun. Well, all the scenes were like there were windows open okay, whatever. Wait, Angel's curse was lifted when he experienced a moment of pure happiness, but he lost his soul and returned to his evil ways. What's going on with all the fairly new to Angel? What's going on with all the sunlight? Only direct sunlight because he has his soul. Direct sunlight will still. Oh, okay. So if he's inside and you have like the windows open, like, nah. But like if he's in direct sunlight, okay. Well, we're learning on the job.
Well,
he doesn't have to slumber during the day.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
So Cordy has is living in a really like shitty,
She's living in a shithole.
She's living in a shithole.
Like literally cockroaches everywhere.
Yeah,
I thought it was because a demon was going to show up in her apartment. No, it's just that bad.
Yeah. So she decides to go over to Angel's house and literally just move herself in.
Oh my god, we had 2 very different reactions to this scene.
So she barges in and decides to move herself in and starts getting really bossy with Angel, like telling him to like get her bags and like stuff she's going to need him to do and whatnot. And yeah, you're right. Me and you had different reactions to that.
Now, my reaction was this bitch coming in, and oh, by the way, he's like had to rush out of the shower to see what the fuck was going on. And she's like, oh, by the way, my bag is still in the hallway. So anyways, like I'll just like stay here as long as I can, and I'll go on your couch if you need to. I mean, unless you're going to volunteer your bed, because like, I mean, you don't have to, but like, you know, if you wanted to be a gentleman, like you do that and stuff like that, like not letting him get a word in an edge in word wise. And I was like, this bitch. But Christopher was like, this bitch.
So a little known fact about me is I kind of like pushy, bossy women. I would be into this, is what I'm saying. Like this would be doing something for me. Her like acting this way toward me.
And so she ends up staying there, and Doyle comes over the next morning because apparently people just fucking go into this guy's house. Okay.
That's a TV thing, though.
It's a TV thing. Like Friends?
Yeah, Friends was literally the example I was going to mention.
They just literally go in and out of each other's apartments like
The Big Bang Theory, like any
oh yeah, that's like the code. You live across the hall from each other and you just go back and forth. That's the sitcom magic.
Yeah.
Right there. And so they're just there, but he's like, oh, Doyle is there in the morning, and he's like, walks out and like, you know, like wearing a bathrobe or whatever, and he's like, Cordy, you got peanut butter on the bed. And she's like, I don't think I did. No, that wasn't me. And he's like, yeah, you did. She's like, fine, I'll go check it. And then Doyle gives him the Angel, my boy, you can't even leave any scraps for me, the homely ones. I actually really liked that scene. And come on, all I'm asking, you could have any woman you ever want with your broad shoulders and your chiseled jaw and your vampire charms, but you can't even leave me, Cordy. And he's like, yeah, her apartment is like flooding and has cockroaches, and she made herself at home here. Also, she called you first.
Yeah.
He's like, what? She did, yeah.
Yeah, so Doyle has a thing for Cordelia.
Uh-huh. And I like how she comes back and she's like, that peanut butter is like actually really old. So it wasn't me. You should probably clean up the sheets. You got peanut butter on your bed. And I'm like, and then later like a gremlin, like living with like a gremlin, like worse than a dog. She's like peeling up the linoleum in his kitchen.
Yeah.
Bitch. Oh man. No, nah.
I think she was trying to fix it.
She was seeing if she was peeling it up to see if there was hardwood floors underneath.
Mm.
And then later on, she comes out and she's like, do you have any aluminum glue? Because like, yeah, like the linoleum like started peeling off like on its own. I'm like, oh, and just touching things, and like Doyle is just picking. Don't touch. Get out of my house.
Well, and indeed, Angel is like, okay, Doyle, like you have to find her somewhere to live.
Oh, so I like the trickaroo. It's just like, hey, because he's on to Doyle, like something's wrong. Like what, he's spending too much time over here. And he's like, oh, hey, there's a big guy at the door for you. I'll tell him that you'll be right up. And then he uses his vampire speed or something, and he waits in the hallway for him. And he's like, okay, what's up? And he's like, the demon mafia, Angel. They're after me. They're after me money. And he's like, okay. We both have a problem, and we need each other to fix it, right? My problem's way worse than your problem. I need you to help get Cordelia the fuck out of my place.
I find it amusing how he's like, yeah, my problem of having this like annoying freeloader in my house is much worse than the demon
For, like,
mob looking to
10
kill
hours. You. Yeah.
But anyway,
I'll go and deal with them.
Yeah, he's like, you help me out with my problem, I'll help you out with your problem. And it's also a win-win too for Doyle, because it means Doyle
gets to spend time.
He gets to spend time with her and do her a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Because indeed,
I
they
like
end up.
how he's like, "Don't worry, I know a guy." People like this always know a guy,
Oh yeah,
and she's like, "Oh, I'm not like going to like some random to try to find an apartment," and so they do it the old-fashioned way through like this is what 99 like newspaper clippings,
yeah, pretty much.
newspaper ads, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Craigslist wasn't even a thing at this point.
and oh boy, there some of them are. Well, one is just a straight up dive, like probably as bad or worse than their old place. One is with this like really fat guy like touching his belly, and he's like, "So, single woman renting to me, huh? And there's no one else renting in this house, so I'm the only one with the
Oh my god,
keys."
the slime was oozing through my TV screen during this scene.
And the only people with like keys to your apartment it'll be me, and will be you and like big strong me right across the hallway. And I'm
You,
like,
I want you to think about that when you move in.
oh, I forgot about that line. I want you to think about that when you move in.
Yeah, like
Take
I
a look
said,
around. And I'm like, holy shit. That place could have been the best place ever, but like Punisher would kill that guy for free.
he would. Yeah,
Probably maybe bust his nose.
Punisher would give him a chance to fuck off.
Yeah.
He would just like I'm imagining just like Punisher, like Netflix Punisher, just like stopping and like walking, turning around and walking up to him and just being like, walk away.
Walk away and don't come back. I like that Punisher.
John
I don't care what
Barenthal.
people say. Yeah.
I do too. He's coming back for the new Daredevil show that premieres in March.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I like that actor.
So fucking excited. Daredevil born again.
Hell yeah. Fucking. So eventually it's like, okay, let's talk to your guy.
And I laughed about this because Doyle says something akin to, he's like, you and Angel, you're both the same. Why can't we just do things the easy way from the start?
Right. And then, his guy, like a friend of a friend or whatever, they go and they view this really nice single unit, like little like townhouse. It's got like a garden outside or whatever. Maybe it's part of a larger building or whatever, but it's got her own corner.
I think it's an apartment. Yeah.
Yep. And the it's great. And she's like, oh, it's so cheap. All right, what's the deal? And she's like, oh, there is no deal. Actually, the last tenant just broke their lease. This hasn't even been put up. How did you know about this?
He's like, yeah, I know a guy,
I know a guy. And I'm like, how did he know about that? Could be that he knew why the last tenant suddenly left. That she moves in as soon as possible. And well, wouldn't you know it, it makes no attempt to hide that it's super haunted.
Yeah. This place is haunted. There's this one wall that she's like, okay, one of the first things we're going to need to do is knock this wall out. And me and you had a similar reaction in that as we were like talking over Discord while we were watching the show, as we often do. And we were both kind of like, you can't really do that with a rental unit. You can't just like tear a wall down.
He said that as the like the lady was like, oh, I'll go and like start the paperwork. She was like within earshot. Like you can't do that. But it was like a weird instinct she had.
Yeah.
Because as she's walking away, comically a face comes out of like the wall, like stretching the wall. There's this trope. I don't know what it is, where ghosts turn walls into rubber and push their face out of it.
Yeah.
But that's not how wallpaper or paint works. But when you're a ghost pushing your face through, it becomes rubber. It's a cool effect. That's why they do it. Let's be real.
And it looks creepy. Like,
it looks creepy, yeah.
What was the first thing I saw that in? Maybe The Frighteners? Remember that movie?
Yeah. It's on the cover of The Frighteners.
And The Frighteners came out a few years before this. I think it came out in like 95 or 96.
There's some homework. Find the first time a TV show or movie used the face through like the rubber to emphasize a ghost lives in the walls.
Mhm.
But that's not the ghost. That's the bad ghost. That's her future roommate. I thought that was cute, but I'm
I
getting
liked
ahead of
that at the
myself.
end. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I read up a little bit about Cordelia as a character. I think you find out eventually that she has like some like precognitive abilities, so that's probably why she was like this wall is a problem.
Ah,
Yeah.
I
No,
like that.
I didn't read too much up about it because well, spoilers for
Oh
my
yeah.
my rating at the end, but I may be interested in watching this show. So I didn't want to read too much about
And
it.
to be fair, I could kind of like see that. Like we're coming at these as like non-fans and non-critics. Buffy is kind of about high school drama, and we're like almost 40, like we're nearing 40-year-old men.
Yeah, in fact, I'll be 40 in 4 days, folks.
um, whereas a vampire detective in LA,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. I think I said to Cal over Discord, I'm like this show. Like, I'm only like 10 minutes in, and I'm already liking this show more because no high school BS, less goofy, more
less
Cordelia.
goofy. You were on Team Cordelia before. Yeah, you didn't even change your your background. Behold the weirdness. You were on Team Cordelia before we even got to Angel.
Yeah,
Um, and it does, instead of her showing as like an adversary. And again, I understand in the broader scheme of things, Cordelia is a likable character in Angel, in Buffy. So I understand the character growth there, but they do a good job of tying this to Sunnydale, Sunnyside up. Um,
Sunny Delight.
and her talking about wanting to be a better person.
Hmm.
And she thinks that out of all the struggles she had, this is a theme throughout it, especially when she confronts the ghost here. She feels like, when is her suffering enough for her to be happy? And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh fuck, that's a that's just an interesting theme in its own bubble. Like
Yeah,
how long do I have to fuck around and toil in the muck and suffer before I can just have like something go my way?
yeah. And like I think anyone who's ever dealt with like a major like depressive episode can relate to this, but like sometimes it really does feel like the universe is just punishing you.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of seems like what she's going through. And it's something that I found very relatable, and I found like it actually added uh, a lot of depth and intrigue to the character. Like I said,
I,
I'm actually a big fan of Cordelia, and not just because she's attractive.
right? Yeah, yeah. There's a part where she's like, I don't know, I just thought like the bad luck would be over and I could like be happy. And Angel's like, and she'd be like, you should, and she's like, Angel, you should know like what that's like. And he's like, seeking redemption. And she's like, no, because you used to live in a mansion like me. And I'm like, so there's a tongue in cheek where she is deeper, but there's like a mask of her being a ditz,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah. Um,
Well, and indeed, I think it's hilarious that she ends up like beating the ghost at the end by basically going Mean Girl.
yeah, because the ghost, we find out because Angel has like a hot blonde who works for the Force,
Yeah.
his inside person, right? Person on the inside. And she's like, there's no murders in that place. And he's like, wait, what about suicides? And she looks it up and she's like, oh shit, that's the suicide apartment, my dude. And he's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I think there have been like over the years, there'd been like six.
Since like the 50s, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and they piece together, they're trying to do like a seance, like a banishment spell, and they need different things, and the witch at this point has presented herself, and she's like a 50s housewife. And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, who can make phone calls and do perfect imitations of other people's voices. Angel had not been in the apartment, and she imitated Angel, or he had been in the apartment.
He had
Never
been,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because Angel early.
Oh, she was trying to rush them out. She didn't
Yeah.
want them to know. Oh, it's just a little ghost. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Angel and Doyle go over there, and there's all kinds of like this. There's all kinds of like wacky shit.
The
happening.
gags are pretty funny. Like scissors will fly across the room to stab Angel in the head, and she'll be like, "Oh, and like, oh, look over here," and she'll like catch the scissors in the air.
And then Angel figures out that the place is haunted when the words "die" in blood show up on.
Yeah,
the
that'll
wall.
do it.
That'll do it. But she's like, hilariously, Cordy is like, you know, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not evil. Maybe it's not saying die.
Maybe it's not
saying,
done.
Maybe it's saying diet, which, you know, is kind of rude, but.
I like that. They were rushing out. They're like, this place is haunted. We have to go right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it's not done. Maybe it's spelling diet, which I mean, like, whoa, kind of judgy, but like, she brings a lot to the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, you got Angel, who's like the brooding like boss. Like, I didn't really feel like, I feel like Friends, Angel's not, even though the show is Angel, he didn't feel really main character. He felt supporting cast, because in this order, it's Cordelia, Doyle, and then Angel.
Yeah.
Most of the dialogue is Cordelia and Doyle, or Doyle and Hitman Demon, or Cordelia and her friend Aura.
Well, and I would guess that this show, much like most ensemble shows, particularly something along the lines of like Star Trek: The Next Generation, ensemble cast, some episodes will like
Are more focused
on like a certain one or two characters in the ensemble. Yeah. So I assume this is just a Cordelia episode.
What ends up happening is Angel, yada, 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 fights with a demon. Demon's like, wait a second, you're a vampire. And he's like, hey, Doyle will pay. Don't worry about it. And Demon Hitman is like, oh, I'm hired to kill him. It's not about the money. It's about sending a message. And he's like, no. Like the money, like you don't get anything if he's dead, but I can get you the money. And he's like, sure. Well, they show up at her place because Cordelia is really bad at reading the room, and she just gives people's addresses away to people over the phone, I guess.
Yeah.
So 3 hitman demons show up in the middle of the seance.
Yeah,
I like how the poltergeist activity, Cordelia like just stayed in the apartment all the way through it.
Yeah, and it gets quite a lot of mayhem goes on.
It's mayhem. It's Evil Dead levels of mayhem. Like things are flying around the room. There's like debris, constant debris, like just blowing around. Things are wrapping around their neck, and yeah, and the ghost is manifesting, being like, everyone hates you.
Yeah,
you cheap whore.
So that's what this ghost does. Is it plays to a person's like inner fears and inner insecurities, inner self-doubt, and essentially convinces them to commit suicide
through psychic manipulation. Ooh.
And
she said something weird. It almost worked, but then she called Cordelia a bitch.
Yeah. And Cordelia is like, you know what? I am a bitch. And then she goes all like mean girl. And the ghost's influence doesn't work on her anymore. She's like, I told you to grab the bed sheet and make a noose with it. And Cordelia is like, I
told you to fuck off, you. And then she does some like old timey burns.
Yeah.
On her. Now what's hilarious is the 3 hitman demons show up, and then There's so much chaos at the end of this. Okay, so poltergeist shit is going on. A ghost is appearing and screaming at everyone to get out. There's a gun fight. And they're fighting the demons, and the demons are like, what the fuck do we do? And the main demon is just like, it's just a ghost, ignore her.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're a demon. Do they not tell you what's real and what's not? Like in demon school, do they not
Yeah.
go vampires? Real. Ghosts? Real. Also, if you were a demon, I wouldn't, like, if you were like, oh, Sasquatch, like I'm a demon. Why would I be phased by anything weird existing?
Huh. There's
Like
a
that one
werewolf
guy
over
was
there. Cool. Didn't know those were real, but all right.
but it doesn't weird me out.
Yeah.
But that one guy's like a ghost. And I'm like, you're a demon. You have demon powers, which
Yeah.
apparently just means you still use a gun. And an angel kills them all.
I like how the three demons are varying levels of demon. Like the one that we had already met in the episode is like full on demon.
Oh, he's definitely a demon. Yeah.
Full on demon makeup, everything. The one guy beside him is full on demon makeup but has a full head of hair. And then the guy on the other side of him is just a dude.
Was just a dude now. And we learned Doyle is half
Yeah.
demon. And he just looks like a dude.
Yeah.
So they're varying levels.
Of demon.
Forgot about the demon with just hair.
Yeah.
He still had like some spikes and like pointed like features and stuff, but just,
Yeah.
you know.
But then the other demon with them just looks like a regular guy.
So I guess it depends on how much of a demon you are. Like, are pure demons from hell? I have a lot of questions about the Buffy verse.
Well,
Maybe we'll find out.
Maybe we'll find out.
So what ends up happening is they find out that this isn't a misunderstood poor old lady ghost. This bitch did some shit
Yeah.
in her day.
Yeah, so
She killed her own son.
Yeah, she was an overprotective mother who was mad that her son who comes from money, and who was mad that her son was dating a poor girl.
One of
Basically.
the poors.
Yeah,
And they were going to elope because his mom didn't understand.
yeah,
And instead she like tied him up and like bricked him into the wall.
bricked him into the wall, the same wall that Cordelia was like, this wall needs to go. And so
Same wall that had the spooky face push out of it.
And so after Cordelia mean girls the old ghost, she grabs like something and just like bashes the wall open, and you see the corpse of this
Her
woman's
eyes
son.
like go white, which might be like signifying that she's like a medium, or
Yeah,
she like what did you say? Clairvoyant, or like something like that.
yeah. She's got some kind of powers.
And she bashes open the wall, and everybody is left except the dead demons. They just, oh, don't worry about it. They just murdered all the demon hitmen in a big chaotic fight. And the mom is like, oh, and they make her confront because in her ghost state, she seems to not realize that she killed her own son,
And she seems to think that
everyone else for it.
And she seems to think that any like young woman who lives in this apartment is the woman who's like trying to elope with her son, take her son away from her.
And then some funny shit happened. Like the skeleton, like in the wall, like begins to glow, and a spirit comes out of it and goes through the mom and goes, "Ah," and she's like ghost killed.
It reaves her soul.
There we go. So we cut to kind of like the ending scenes after all this, right? Despite all the damage and the noise, it's a fixer-upper. Cordelia's living there. She's chatting on her cordless phone to her gossipy friend in Sunnydale. And she's like, yeah, I've got like a roommate, but like I never see him. So it's like actually kind of like really ideal. And the camera zooms in, and she's reaching for like a pop, a soda, a beverage of the canned variety, and it slides away. And she's like, hey, no, bring it back. And then after a few seconds, the pop can slides back to her. Anyway, sorry about that. Blah, blah, blah. And she's talking on the phone. And then the TV turns on and she's like, hey, no, we talked about this, not while I'm on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the TV turns off and I'm like, I guess the ghost likes the same things Christopher.
Yeah. Actually.
And then there's some like heart to heart between Doyle and Angel where he's like, well, when's it going to happen? And he's like, what? And he's like, how do you live like this, man? And he's like, I don't know. I like living on the edge. When are you going to tell me about your life story? And he's like, one day. Bow, 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 bow. That's not actually the theme song. That's the Buffy theme song, but I can't remember the Angel theme song, so Buffy it is.
Yeah. And well, there it is.
Well, Siege, you just caught a random episode of Angel. 1999's hit sensation, the one, the only private LA detective, vampire detective, Angel. Oh, and there's a joke about him only having one name. The blonde is all like, you're not a real detective. And he just like looks at her and she's like, real detectives have resumes, actually solve cases and have last names.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you got me. I'm the Pope or whatever. Yeah. So Siege, you just caught a random episode of Angel. Would you tune in next week?
Yeah, I'm going to start watching this. It's in Canada. The whole series is on Disney Plus, which I already have. And yeah, I think, especially with how big of a fan I was of Cordelia, like right out of the gate from the Buffy episode, this was actually like the perfect episode to recommend to me, I think.
Oh. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Josh. I now
yeah,
have,
this was the perfect episode.
I now have something to binge.
I don't have an in-between answer. This was a little bit better than the Buffy episode.
Definitely, yeah.
I would tune in next week unless like a friend invited me over for like pop and chips and like video games and stuff.
You would tune in next week if you didn't have anything better to do.
If we didn't have anything better to do. Yeah.
Fair.
Like I like the premise appeals more to me just because I deep down in my soul I couldn't handle the Buffy like high school drama.
Yeah.
Wasn't for me. Maybe I'm too old to have gotten into it, and that's fine. But like this, it's more adult themed. They say bitch on the show.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's how you know it's TV 14.
That's right. I am a mature audience and I like mature things. So, maybe depends if, my friends and I get together and play Pokemon, the trading card game.
Because you are a mature.
Because I'm a mature man. Or what else? 1999. Or I'm watching The Matrix.
Or playing Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
Or playing Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Or playing Neopets. I don't know what else. What other things came out in 99? Lots of things.
Fight Club.
There we go. I'm starting my own fart club. That's just like every teenage group of boys, actually. Well, that's all from us, folks.
Well, that was episode 105 of the Lazor Comb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. Starting at the $5 tier, you get our bonus weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lazor Comb Patreon Super Show. It's $10 tier. As I mentioned earlier, you can pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this podcast. And you get commentary tracks and some other goodies. And at the $20 tier, much like Josh, you get to pick the episode of said show. And there's some other benefits in there as well, including a Lazor Comb t-shirt of your choice after a few months at that tier, which I think Josh is there now. So I'll be reaching out to you soon, Josh, about getting you a t-shirt. Follow us on social media. Links in the description for both of our Blue Skies and TikToks. You can also join the Discord, which is the best way to interact with us. I tend to be pretty chatty on there, especially on my days off. Link in the description as always. We'll be back next week with episode 106 of the Lazor Comb podcast. Now, a few years ago, back in 2022, which is a few years ago now at this point.
A few years ago, yeah.
We did a programming block called Star Trek Month. And we did the 5 main original Star Trek TV shows. And we toyed with the idea of eventually when other more modern Star Trek shows ended, when there was enough of them that were finished, we were going to do another Star Trek month. And, January is Star Trek month 2, the
Return to Trunk's return.
The Daft of Krong.
The Daft of Krong.
It's kind of fitting because I don't know, I'm kind of treating this as a birthday gift to myself in a way, because January, as I mentioned, in 4 days now, January 2025, I'll be turning 40. So felt like a good time to do Star Trek month 2, and also Star Trek Lower Decks finally just ended a couple of weeks ago.
There was a lot of Star Trek on when we did that first Star Trek month.
Yeah.
So
what we're going to be doing is next week we're going to do Star Trek the animated series. Then we're going to do, much like in the first Star Trek month, we're going to go in chronological order with the shows. So we're going to do Star Trek the animated series, then Star Trek Discovery, which that I'm not entirely looking forward to because I don't like that show. Star Trek Picard, and then we're going to cap it off with the recently ended Star Trek Lower Decks, which I would argue is the best of the bunch.
Ooh.
Yeah, that series finale just aired a couple weeks ago.
Or is the best Star Trek show The Orville?
I've heard people say that.
I have no goose to cook.
I don't necessarily agree, but I see where people are coming from with that. So yeah, we're going to be back.
Right.
We're going to be back next week with Star Trek the animated series, and to figure out which episode we're going to watch, I'm going to hit screen share.
It's time to get the old random number generator as my kitties eat some cardboard.
How many episodes did it have? 22 across 2 seasons. So one random number between 1 and 22. And here we go. 11. It's a season 1 episode. The Terratin incident. While observing a burnt-out supernova, the USS Enterprise picks up a strange message transmitted in a 200-year-old code.
Ooh.
All right.
11.
It goes to 11. Anyway, we'll be back next week with that. And until then, I have been Christopher Siege, one of your hosts.
And I am Count Calcula, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We'll forever knight you next time.
Bat!
Bye-bye.